Well, hey, good morning, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving. This is Justice's Waiting Room. This is a daily live podcast. We discuss news and politics. We are live on both YouTube and Twitch. I think I'm likely alien on both. And today we're going to talk about radicalization in the U.S. Army and the death of the American dream, and how all of those things are exactly why two National Guardsmen are dead. Ramanrala. hmm So I looked it up this morning. Okay. Here's what I think, and nobody asked, but here's what I think. I think that you have two choices um, when you are around a, a group of people, and that is you can either kind of blend in, or you can stick out like a sore fucking thumb and speak your mind. I'm willing to bet money Rahman Rallah kept his mouth shut, just smiled and nodded, worked with these people for like 10 fucking years. Okay? And then Joe Biden withdrew from Afghanistan. He came to the United States 5 months after that. The Taliban took over Afghanistan, which means like his country lost. And he comes to the United States probably expecting to, fulfill his American dream, right? And gets here, and what is he doing? Working for fucking Amazon. And Amazon Flex, he's a fucking driver. Now, this is no disrespect to Amazon drivers. These people got to make a living too. I'm just saying, if you worked alongside the U.S. Army for 10 years in Afghanistan and you came to the United States, this probably isn't what you thought you was signing up for. You probably thought it'd be easier to get a job. I got all this experience, right? Except he lived in Washington State. And a lot of people are going to ask, like, how is that significant? Washington State has one of the five militias. Washington State is particularly radical itself. Think about uh, protests out in Oregon and Washington that have been lit, right? So what I think is that he was surrounded by people. I mean, think about uh, all the crazy motherfuckers that have come out of the army. You know what I'm saying? Like the Flynns. Like if you look at the army and its connection to corruption, and so I think he's served alongside some probably backwards people when the U.S. was in Afghanistan for 10 years. That's a decade. And then 5 months after Joe Biden's withdrawal from Afghanistan, which again I'm pretty positive this is Donald Trump's fault. The withdrawal, did in the botched withdrawal somehow related to Donald Trump? Delete the question mark and everything after it in the link. Okay. Learn something new every day. So yeah, I think that here's why I think what I think. The army's huge. It'd be easier for radical people to be in the U.S. Army than the Marine Corps or the Navy because of size. And then to be around the U.S. Army for 10 years in your country, in a foreign country, right? I think that would radicalize anyone. And I guess if there's not a question mark, it's not tracking info. So it's a good thing to keep an eye on. I've been thinking a lot about this. How about how Europe is trying to ban social media for people under the age of 16? And I think they're doing everything that they can do. These capitalists are working with your elected officials to keep kids from learning. They don't want your children to know what socialism is. They'll do everything they can to keep people dumb and keep them from knowing what's going on in the world under the guise of protecting them. I think I think instead of banning social media for kids under 16, how about we enable parents? Far too many parents have no fucking control over their kids. Far too many kids are basically adults before they're 18, and we in the world we live in just lets children function as adults. You know what I mean? And think about it. When I was in high school, once you heard of emancipation, and I ain't talking about the Emancipation Proclamation, I'm talking about once you learn that, hey, once you're 18 and you're working and you can fucking pay your own way, you can be emancipated. You can be out on your own, right? But I want kids to have access to social media. I want them to be able to speak out about having to go through shooting drills. I want these kids' lived experience to radicalize other people. I want these kids that are like sitting through a school shooter drill to just video it. This is what I have to do. Like every Tuesday morning for half an hour of my life, I gotta wear a bulletproof blanket. I gotta turn my desk over. Just like Mike said, by the time I was 14, I pretty much ran around doing whatever I wanted. Exactly, that's what I'm saying. By the way, all those high rises on fire in Hong Kong, 65 dead. Contractors and corporations cutting corners is what caused this fire and all these people to die. Top U.S. negotiator warned that Russia is stockpiling missiles. Daniel Driscoll used the growing threat from Moscow as a way to sell a quick peace deal unfavorable in Ukraine. We've been following this story in France. They're increasing the size of their military. They're unveiling a new voluntary military service. So I'm guessing service was compulsory. There's an article from Yahoo. We don't normally share Yahoo, right? About how the West is missing obscure sanctions that could set back Russia's war machine. A U.S. group has identified several obscure but potentially key sanctions it says could seriously disrupt Russia's war effort in Ukraine after last month's targeting of the Kremlin's biggest oil firms. Previous rounds of sanctions have been applied to Russian energy companies, banks, military suppliers, and the shadow fleet of ships carrying Russian oil. Dekleptocracy, a civil society group that researches Russia's war economy, says chemicals used to make medicinal lubricants and military grade tires are a vulnerability that the US, UK, and EU policymakers could exploit. Christopher Harrison, the group's president and a former State Department excerpt on Russia, described the targets as weedy and specific, unlike the microchips and oil companies that generally draw the attention of governments and agencies, but they're hard to replace and essential to Moscow's ability to field tanks and fights. A lubricant shortage would seriously damage Russia's war machine. Huh. Dekleptocracy found that one Chinese company, Xinjiang Richful, now satisfies a large part of Russia's demand, supplying up to 8 million kilograms a year. Hmm, interesting. My wife and I ordered Thanksgiving pizza from our favorite local restaurant. It's called Whiskey Business, like risky business. I don't know if that reference means anything for any of my cinephiles. And I signed up to work 4 hours today. I'm hoping that I just sit there for 4 hours today. Lawmaker here, Euromaidan Press. Man, they've really come through for me. Yeah, they just have great pizza, man. Great pizza. The only downside, my wife wanted pepperoni pizza and couldn't order it on the app. You had to like order a different pizza and take all the toppings off, but the pepperoni and the cheese and the sauce. So that's about the only bitch. But other than that, everything from that motherfucker's good. Hmm. So lawmakers have launched a bipartisan push to stop this Ukraine peace deal, and a they're calling it a Munich style agreement. Yeah, what they're basically saying, okay, is that um, what preceded World War II, like what enabled World War II, um, basically Italy ceded territory. Uh, I don't remember what it is. Oh, here it is. Sudetenland. Sudetenland. It's a region of Czechoslovakia. They gave it to Hitler, and they did it thinking it would help achieve peace. And all it did was lead to World War II because it gave the regime legitimacy. So, of course, lawmakers don't want to see this happen, right? Hmm. I feel bad for the people that are like obligated to be places. I'm sorry to hear that. I go nowhere. unless I want to fucking be there. I'm sorry that you don't get to live that way. That would be a tortured existence for me. Yeah, I wouldn't be caught dead in someone's house I don't want to be at. Fuck that shit. Not even for 2 seconds. Don't give a fuck. But I'm glad you're taking your own vehicle. It seems like overkill. Bloomberg reporting. You know what? Fuck you, Bloomberg. Lebanon rebukes Iran for calling Hezbollah more essential than bread and water. It smells like war. Yeah, I'm not spending money, not going anywhere. I'm trying to get people to stop paying their credit cards. You know what I mean? All right. The Smithsonian Magazine is talking about this volcano that has erupted in Ethiopia. Holy shit. 2,200 miles away. Oh, no, no, no. And you know what's crazy? I can smell drama at a party I won't even be at. That's the kind of I got. I know when to not be somewhere. So keep this in mind. The EU's fucking Russia up, right? And all these other countries that are near Russia, like Ukraine, are getting fucked up, right? Well, the EU has decided, hey, we're gonna give some financial relief to these countries clearly impacted by this. Look at what the fuck, bro? Reuters reporting army officers say they have seized power in Guinea Bissau. A group of army officers say they have seized power in coup prone Guinea Bissau a day before the planned announcement of results from a hotly contested presidential election. Just you and your turkey here today. Great. The how the fuck are you coup prone? You know what I mean? Like Jesus. This is how wars start right here. Reuters. Poland has arrested a Russian suspected of hacking Polish companies. So I'm a proponent of universal health care, right? I'm a socialist, and my my journey as a socialist has included being confronted on many angles, particularly about healthcare. and about how socialized healthcare ain't it because you'll have to play the fucking waiting game with my full chest. 33 of 34 developed, well, all 34 developed countries in the world use the same sort of healthcare system that these big healthcare companies, United Healthcare, for the record, they operate internationally. Yeah, that's right. So when you see wait times, know that it's here, it's there, it's everywhere. Healthcare management, that's the problem. The problem is that when you go to a doctor, he has to ask a suit for permission to treat you. And that suit is going to determine whether or not you live, not that doctor. That's the problem. I want to put all medical decisions in the hands of the people treating the patient and take them completely away from healthcare companies. And healthcare companies just cover it. Mhm. Because they do that already. Yep. On these dual special needs plans, the average expense is humongous and they're not paying shit for it. So we're already doing it. Hmm. And all it's doing is cutting somebody's bonus for us all to have health care. That's what I was pointing out, Mike, is like it doesn't matter. That woman lived in fucking Manitoba. It don't even matter where you live, bro. 34 countries in the world have socialized healthcare. 33 have socialized healthcare. 30 all 34 developed countries use a healthcare management system. Okay? The problem is that it doesn't work. And the reason that there are long waits is because healthcare companies drag their feet on whether or not they're going to cover shit, and doctors are forced to play a waiting game and say, I'm going to push back your appointment and hope they'll agree to cover it, and then we'll get it done, right? And that's part of what's driving shit. You know what I mean? I hate it. I can imagine, like, let me tell you a story about a conversation I had, and this will drive you crazy. So my client says, well, if I sign up for healthcare with you now and it goes into effect on the first, okay? If I do it now, it goes into effect on the first. Is it good for the whole year? Yeah, of course. Okay. I'm at the doctor's office in a gown waiting on my doctor to come in here. Oh, really? I've never talked to someone that's in the doctor's office. And right about that time, her doctor bolts in the room, smiles at her, a little Italian man with gray hair, puts a sign on the back of the door. Dr. Wampawamp will no longer accept United Healthcare. And she put her clothes back on and left while she was in a gown waiting on her doctor to come in and see her. Because she had United Healthcare and I was trying to get her switched to Humana. Because people keep their healthcare year to year and your doctor's contracts year to year. So your doctor could not work with that healthcare company the next year, but that guy canceled his contract in the middle of a year. So he also exercises that right as well. So keep this in mind. Your doctors are, if you're having a hard time in the healthcare system, your doctor's part of the problem. They're not always the hero. Yeah, they could be being selfish too. Mike, I want to make sure that we get it right. I did a little research. 4.5 billion people don't have health care at all. So that kind of throws your 69% of access to universal health care statement into question. We should figure out which of us is correct. Does more than half the planet not have access to healthcare, or does 70% of the planet have access to universal healthcare? Because I'm pretty sure I'm right. Just saying, because I read it. I just looked it up. But I want to make sure we both do it. Yeah, right. And you hope that your doctor is awake, aware, and alive, that they keep up on their licenses and they keep up on science and that they have good discretion, um, knowing how to handle people and patients and shit is part of being a doctor. And it's not just the US stock market. It's not just the US stock market. The European stock market is going to be down, okay? Regional and global outlook. India and Russia are going to work together effectively. They're looking to widen relationship. Yeah, it sounds like. See, I can't really speak on participating in this healthcare uh, racket. Um, I've never been able to afford it, so I just use the VA healthcare and try to stay healthy. Um, Thankfully, anytime I've gone to the VA, they've taken care of me, um, and it hasn't cost me anything. But again, one of the things that I frequently ask myself was the is the juice worth the squeeze? Right? Like, is what I'm getting out of it worth what I put into it? Uh, Still probably not. So probably not worth it. Couldn't afford it, but yeah. So you got to think, 4.5 billion people do not have access to basic health care. So I think there's like 8 billion. So that's like more than half don't even have it at all. So then we got to think about the remainder, the 4 or so billion that do have access to healthcare, and say, well, what percentage of the people that have access to healthcare have universal healthcare? And I'm willing to bet it's not 70% of the people that have access to healthcare, because that would not substantiate any claim against universal healthcare. If 70% of the people that have healthcare have universal healthcare, what do you mean it doesn't work? Everybody has it. I just think they don't have it. Yeah, how many countries isn't a good question. How many people is a great question. Because there's only like 200 countries, 200 some odd countries. Japan is debating its nuclear policy. I just want to continue to point out that nuclear weapons are completely unnecessary. And all of the people that run around threatening nuclear war are just like elected officials who didn't serve, who have no concept of war or explosions or bombs or missiles. They don't know anything about it and they just talk about it. And I fucking hate it. I'm for rapid denuclearization. We should just not have that shit. We should not do that. Hey, I love to see this. The Vice President of the European Commission calls for immediate, unconditional ceasefire and reparations loan to Ukraine backed by frozen Russian assets. This was purported a while back. $500 for a blood test. You know what's crazy, Gabby? Every time I go to the VA, I get a blood test on the walk in. It doesn't cost anything. Again, I always ask myself, like, what did it cost? $500. That's what it costs. So here he is. Here's your anti-immigration Marco fucking Rubio urging other countries, urging countries to limit immigration. So what these capitalists are doing is destroying the planet, and then they're going to make the people whose countries they destroy die in that country instead of leave it for survival. Yeah, and if you had universal health care, it'd cost nothing. One Korean volunteer soldier in Ukraine has been confirmed dead. South Korean. One Korean national who volunteered to fight alongside Ukraine against Russia's aggression has been killed in combat. He's identified only by his surname Kim as being in his 50s. They didn't identify him. Think about you're paying out for the test and you also have to pay monthly for it. hmm It all goes towards your deductible. Look at this shit. Trump told Japan's prime minister to lower their tone on Taiwan. So look at Donald Trump's going to allow China to take Taiwan. Here's all these countries suing their former presidents for corruption. Morning, Rick. Happy Thanksgiving. Justice for thee. Why not for me? Gamma rays emanating from the center of the Milky Way appear to bear the signature of dark matter. I always thought that shit was fake. I think that you should not have to pay monthly for healthcare, that you should be able to change healthcare companies at any time. You should pay as little as you can and then pay as little for healthcare service when you use it. I think it would be in the healthcare provider's nature to no longer even accept payment at the site, right? We don't even do that shit here. We intake, we treat, and we expel. There ain't no fucking paying nobody. Get that fuck the shit out of here, right? And then use our tax dollars, like federal and state tax dollars, and it just pays for the healthcare costs. Somebody already did the math. It's like almost $500 billion a year for our healthcare costs. We could just divest from military industrial complex completely and cover that cost flat. That's a one for one. It's efficient. Okay. Ah, Taiwan was the first to allow gay marriage, and that's why they're being attacked. Russia Red Cross linked to child soldiers and occupation in Ukraine. Wow. Wow. RRC, Russian Red Cross, is deeply entangled in the Kremlin's war machine. Hey, hey Gupta. Other countries, it's like 4,000 a person for universal health care. Mm-hmm. Secretary General selection process is beginning at the UN. So this is important. You certainly hope whoever they select at the UN isn't a Trumper. Venezuela believes the U.S. military threats are a bluff and that Maduro can only be ousted with troops on the ground. Also, Maduro doesn't want to leave power because he's like, I'm just gonna go to jail. That's stupid. So Venezuela is calling Donald Trump's bluff and saying, you ain't really invading us for no goddamn reason. How the fuck you gonna come to our country, shoot our fishermen, and then invade us for no goddamn reason? What the fuck? No, he's an authoritarian. He's a piece of shit. But I don't know what this is. DW.com. Israel has began a West Bank operation amid settlement expansion. Settlement expansion. They're expanding Israel into Gaza. Israel is taking over Gaza. South Korea's fourth space rocket launch successful, sending satellites into orbit. Way to go, South Korea. Fourth homegrown space rocket, Nuri, on Thursday to put more than a dozen satellites into orbit. Understand, in the United States, if you're poor enough, you get universal health care. That costs you nothing. You don't pay for your costs for Medicare. That's covered by Medicaid. The healthcare plan has no premium. There's no cost to see a doctor, your PCP or your specialist. No cost for prescription drugs. And in fact, these healthcare plans cover thousands of dollars of unique benefits like dental, vision, and hearing. They'll even give you hundreds of dollars a month for shit like food and groceries. Hmm. In addition to costing nothing. We already have it. We already have it. We could just all have it. It's crazy. Everybody should just be like Medicaid eligible now. Medicare and Medicaid eligible. You don't make enough money. Yep. They should be men paying you, matching with inflation, like $34 an hour on average. The Russian military, see, Ukraine in fighting a war is taking out your ability to uh, move your vehicles. Russia is executing Ukrainian POWs. See, their tactic is demoralization. All they know how to do is fuck shit. Hmm. Fuck boy shit. Argentina to move their Israeli embassy to Jerusalem by spring of 2026. Says the new Arab. Yeah, I mean, it's totally the plan. Expansion. Indonesia investigates radioactive contamination in some exports to the US and Europe. Shrimp spices to the US and sneakers to the Netherlands. Probe is centered on a metal processing factory, Second Industrial Estate in Baten, on the island of Java. Smelting company called the PT Peter Metal Technology is believed to be China owned. The discovery of cesium 137. Interesting. Hmm. Shrimp process shrimp and make footwear. That's fucking gross. Japan scrambles jets after Chinese drones spotted near Taiwan. So the our rapist in chief is telling the female prime minister of Japan to cool the language on Taiwan as Japan has to scramble jets after a Chinese drone was spotted over Taiwan. That's how wars start and shit. Panama lawmakers arrive in Taiwan despite reported China pressure. A group of Panamanian lawmakers arrived in Taiwan on Tuesday in apparent defiance of reported Chinese requests they cancel the trip. Not really a big fan of China. You kind of bullying people around and shit. Putin advisors discuss plans for dealing with Trump in a transcript from a phone call. I'm glad this shit's just all getting leaked to the public. Yuri Ushakov, Vladimir Putin's most senior foreign policy advisor, and Kirill Dmitriev, an economic advisor to the president. I agree. UAE officials are saying don't lecture us and calls on Israel and Palestine to take responsibility for peace instead of lecturing the region, which you know that Israel's going to do that and they're going to go pick a fight somewhere else, right? Because they got Benjamin Netanyahu's ass in charge. Hey, look, Lebanon and Cyprus finalize a sea border agreement after a 20-year impasse. Lebanese President Joseph Aoun and Cypriot counterpart Nikos Christodoulides and a maritime agreement. Holy shit. Yeah, this got serious fast. Taiwan to spend $40 billion towards buying U.S. weapons and building a defense dome. Hey, so the shit with Taiwan and China and Japan is heating up. They're they're just keeping kids from organizing is all. They don't want kids organizing is the entire reason they're trying to block social media is because kids are getting radicalized younger and younger. And since I'm a gamer, we'll also post this story in Argentina. Benjamin Elias Marin Mendoza admits to grooming a 13-year-old on Roblox. The fucking video games. Alright, let's switch over. Justice's, I'm going to share the show and then we'll switch over. Justice's Waiting Room, a daily podcast discussing, discussing news and politics, is live on Twitch and YouTube. We would be honored if you would join us. I guess I should put that live chat. Sorry about that. Yep, hashtag JWR. Twitch and YouTube and Free Palestine and Slava Ukraine. And remember, we're in the middle of a blackout. So this is sort of like boycott, protest, and strike real hard for a week. Try not to buy stuff from the people that paid for this. You know what I mean? A lot of people can't really afford to do anything anyway. All right, in U.S. news, the Campbell's VP got fired after saying he wouldn't eat their soup because they 3D they 3D print meat at Campbell's now, saying their products are for poor people, highly processed food. You know what? I never liked fucking chicken noodle soup anyway, unless it was homemade. So I wasn't eating Campbell's soup ever. I can't tell you the last time I had it. But I'm definitely not eating it. And if you think their food quality is going to get better after their VP outs that they're 3D processing and printing food, uh, okay. Vulgar, offensive, and false. Here's the AP story about that shooting. Is there a question mark? A brazen act of violence, a targeted attack. 29-year-old suspect, an Afghan national, entered the U.S. in 2021 through Operation Allies Welcome, a Biden administration program that evacuated and resettled tens of thousands of Afghans after the U.S. withdrawal from the country. The initiative brought roughly 76,000 people to the United States, many who have worked alongside U.S. troops and diplomats as interpreters and translators. It has since faced intense scrutiny from Trump and his allies, congressional Republicans, and some government watchdogs over gaps in the vetting process and the speed of admissions, even as advocates say it offered a lifeline to people at risk of Taliban reprisals. The suspect, who has been living in Washington state, has been identified by law enforcement officials as Ramanullah Lakanwal, but authorities were still working to fully confirm his background. Two law enforcement officials said he had a wife and 5 children. Hadn't spoke to his family in years. Was working for Amazon and Amazon Flex. I'm almost guaranteeing you it was a targeted attack. Do you know what I'm saying? He obviously worked with those people. Yeah. Here's the Reuters story where the FBI is worthless. Like the FBI is going to give us a straight story on what happened. But and from what I understand, here's how I perceive this. Okay, when we withdrew from Afghanistan, it was a mistake. Remember the botched Afghanistan withdrawal, um, and Pakistan, Afghanistan fell to the Taliban. Right? It's like we left and they lost. So imagine giving up your home country to come to the United States. Period. And then imagine the only way you can make ends meet is Amazon and Amazon Flex. Wouldn't you be radicalized? Wouldn't you fucking hate them white boys that told me I could just move to the United States, everybody will love you, and you could work anywhere? I'm not empathizing with the shooter. He did the shit. I'm saying I can totally see how he became radicalized into killing people that he knew. This was a targeted killing. He flew across the fucking country to do this shit. It's not like this was in his backyard. He was living in Washington State. Americans are feeling the pain of the affordability crisis. Oh, yeah. Everyone I talk to has. Gabby asked, why was he naked on the stretcher? Anyone else see that? He attacked National Guards people who have probably been trained to delouse of someone in that situation with the expectation they might have explosives on them. Plus, when I'm all kitted up and I got these gloves on and I put my hands on you, it's gonna rip your fucking clothes off when you try to get away. Yeah. Is that they ripped his fucking clothes off to make sure he didn't have anything else on him. reading. Hmm. Hmm. A Georgia judge has dropped the 2020 election interference case against Donald Trump. Um, Something to understand is that the people that did something wrong have already been punished, that actually did something wrong. And from what it sounds like, Donald Trump's involvement was just, we lost. We don't accept that we lost. We need to find enough votes to win. That's not illegal. It also exonerates Rudy Giuliani. I honestly think these people are stupid and they ran into people that would actually do the shit, and the people that actually do the shit got punished. But these idiots didn't. But I'm just reading. It's tough to talk about, right? Because it's like, I'm not a lawyer. GMU lecturer fired for drinking in class with undergrads. Invited out undergrad students to bring alcohol to class for an end of semester student presentations. Now listen. Now listen. This just goes to show you. Oh man. A renowned American beer brewing school is heading north and getting ready to settle in a new address in Montreal. The Siebel Institute of Technology has taught generations of beer brewers the fine art and science of the craft in Chicago. But in a statement on social media, the school has chosen to relocate to Canada, pointing to policies enacted under the Trump administration for its decision. So think about now the cost of going to school to be a beer brewer. Beer brewer. Oh, when I tell you I hate AI. All right, so ChatGPT firm blames a boy's suicide on misuse of its technology. A teenage kid fucking brained himself. ChatGPT's involved, and they're like, it ain't our fucking fault. Hey, speaking of hazing, this is funny. Hey, you guys remember we had this conversation yesterday about hazing? Yeah, fuck AI. Florida fire and rescue employees arrested after waterboarding a coworker in a hazing incident. They waterboarded him and beat him after he wouldn't show him a video on his phone. It's fucking crazy, right? A small group of employees treat the firehouse like a frat house. That's why you gotta have an adult in the room. A lawsuit has been filed alleging social media giants buried their own research on teen mental health harms. It's tough, right? Jesus fuck. Okay, so a guy set a train passenger train. He sent a train. He set a train passenger on fire in Chicago. Had 72 prior arrests. What the fuck? What? How the fuck do you get arrested 72 times? My ass would be tired after 2 arrests. Would be. I'm just guessing. Hey, look, justice for thee. Can we have justice for me? Oh, oh, did I point one that had tracking in it? No, sorry. I probably have. I'm gonna fuck that up. My bad, Mike. I'll work on it. Illegal campaign finance. For the record, if any of you get hard up for a job and you really want to work, you could get a job within this regime. All you have to do is say incredibly stupid shit that doesn't match your job title at all. For example, the Louisiana health official that openly opposes COVID vaccines has now been employed as the CDC deputy. So, like what I'm saying, if you really need a job, all you gotta do is, in your field, make a claim that's fucking outrageous. You probably get appointed. Yeah. Stop me if you've heard this shit in your dreams. A Bangkok court has issued an arrest warrant for the co owner of Miss Universe. We were so close. If it just said former. Bangkok court issues an arrest warrant for Thai co-owner of the Miss Universe pageant. Jackafong. Well, there's your why is she an evil person right there. Look at that fucking last name. Jack Rajuda Tip. Yeah, man. Anybody. Sometimes when you see some shit pop off and you're like, damn, that's bad. Right? Was there a question mark there? There was. My bad. I corrected it, Mike. I'm deleting the question mark too. Is that wrong? I saw this video the other day. You might not have. It's life. Um, CNN reporting watching a fox use tools. Global warming's a hoax. Congratulations, Bob. You are now the head of the National Weather Service. It is decided. Tell me more. The U.S. Navy is axing its frigate program. Constellation class. Wasn't delivering any bang for the buck. I agree. I wouldn't. Look, if it can be taken out by a drone, I'm not about it. Anti-abortion protester arrested in Planned Parenthood shooting. Let's go. Hey, look, and it's a balding white man. A man accused of shooting another man near a Columbia Planned Parenthood has been arrested. Mark Baumgartner, 56. Charged with assault and battery of a high and aggravated nature and possession of a weapon during a violent crime. Not able to return to Planned Parenthood, cannot contact the victim. Kara said they have more important things to think about, like what you wear when you get on a plane. And you know what's crazy is nobody's flying right now anyway. Oh shit. Richard Branson's wife died. Heartbroken by the loss of his wife and partner of over 50 years. Joan Templeton, the wife of British billionaire Sir Richard Branson, has died at the age of 80. Founder of Virgin Atlantic Airlines, space tourism company Virgin Atlantic, and satellite launcher Virgin Orbit. Got married at Necker Island in the Caribbean. Water bankruptcy is what they're calling what Iran's dealing with in Tehran. Hey, HP is about to lay off 6,000 people by 2028. So, make America great again as every company starts cutting people they probably considered essential and let work from home. I have to sneeze. Oh no, wait, did you hear me sneeze? I thought I hit the button. Did y'all just catch a full sneeze in your ear hole? My bad. Hey, look at this shit. An EU court says same-sex marriage should be recognized throughout the bloc. This means the whole of the EU. That comes from a court. And rebuked Poland for refusing to recognize a marriage between two of its citizens that took place in Germany. Keep in mind, Polish law doesn't allow two people of the same sex to get married. New Zealand says it's going to eradicate feral cats. How do you know if they're feral? Do you talk to them? Yes, I had it muted. That's what I'm talking about. Hey, it's the little wins. You know what I'm talking about? They eradicate feral cats by 2050. Feral cats are stone cold killers. Oh, wow. It aims to eradicate animals that have a negative impact on species such as birds, bats, lizards, and insects. They kill to survive. Wow. Yeah, domestic pets are not part of the project. This shit, this shit is bad. The U.S. is deporting dozens of migrants to Ukraine. Donald Trump sent 50 people to Ukraine, who's currently fighting a war. Enjoy the food lines and the unemployment line. And they wanted you to stay. They want you to go tomorrow and stand in line. Go get in line, everybody. I'm so glad I want for nothing. Why the fuck would you send people trying to migrate to the United States to a country in war? Yeah, immigration lawyers have raised concerns that those deported to Ukraine could be conscripted to fight in the war. All men in Ukraine from 25 to 60 are eligible to be drafted. Meet Trump's nemesis, the 60-year-old who has been to 1,000 protests. And Nadine Otego Seiler. Oh shit, sorry. Oleana. Hmm. And you'll notice, by the way, at no part of this have I blamed Democrats. And I just want to continue to point out, yeah, she embarrasses her husband. Let's go. That's fun. It's funny. Yeah, we talked about it already today about Marco Rubio, but the U.S. is pressing Europe and other allies on mass migration. You should want more people to want to come to your country. You should have a country where people want to be here. Hmm. Honolulu, Hawaii could be the first U.S. city where food is a human right. It's happening. Sometimes it doesn't feel like it. Feels like we're trapped and that shit is awful and it's just going to keep getting awful. Among dozens of proposed amendments that the Charter Commission is putting on the ballot next fall, one is considering is the right to food. We all need to eat. Let's put it on paper. House Republicans are demanding that Trump deny Mamdani federal security clearance. He doesn't need it. They're demonizing it because it's their fault it's happening. So all these billionaires are going to demonize migration. They're responsible for it. It's their fault. All these heads of business ruined the climate and then are now anti-immigrant because that's accountability for them. Their tax dollars are going to have to take care of those people who you displaced. Hmm. Calling it a giant game of chicken. Remember, Donald Trump always chickens out. Donald Trump is not starting a war and invading Venezuela. Venezuela is saying he's bluffing. Here's Susan Collins' statement from her website about the release of the Epstein files. According to the United States and Israel, food is not a human right. Neither is water, neither is shelter. I love to see this. I love to see this. Mike Johnson's in hell, y'all. He is unhappy. Yeah. I like it. This is the kind of shit I need to see. Okay? A deeply unhappy Mike Johnson says he's in triage every day. Good. Good. A judge has approved North Carolina's use of a GOP friendly district map, which will ultimately end up getting struck down. Donald Trump's plan for Gaza is condemned as concentration camps within concentration camps. Yeah, trapped in a living hell. That be purgatory. Dem women look like dem men. We used to be the party of drugs and rock and roll. Uh, Not fun party. Always telling, correcting people, not allowing men to be women, women to be hot. We used to party as sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Now dem women look like dem men, and dem men look like women. Yeah, they leaked those texts. Yep, they're soft. He could have said it. He could look. Hey, I was in the Marine Corps, man. You just you see the way someone writes some shit, and you're like, hey. You could make it into like an anti-trans thing or like a homophobic thing. You can make it into that. I'm not saying that wasn't what he was doing. I'm just saying, me reading it, I'm like, he's saying they're fucking soft. We used to be fun. We used to like get shit done. Now we just yell and shit. Okay, I don't. I'm more shocked at the lack of loyalty. on what I consider pretty tame texts. Why the fuck would you leak that? I don't think it means anything. If that's it, that's nothing. That's a nothing burger. Democrats are investing flyers in the Tennessee special election that have the wrong date on them. So he said, poor little man. Talking about Mike Johnson. Fuck Mike Johnson, man. I hope he's unhappy. We've been talking about this election going on in Tennessee where uh, an area where Donald Trump won by 22%, the Democrats closing on the Republican and is within a couple percentage points. That's a huge gap. 20 percentage points in a special election. When you overcome that, it's massive. Trump gets involved. So here is Donald Trump interfering with other elections in other countries. France 24 reporting Donald Trump is getting involved in a Honduras election by supporting the far right in Honduras. Clearly, clearly, when there's a small fire outside of your house, instead of just call the fire department, put the fire out, rebuild, Donald Trump says no. Right where that fire was is where we're going to start stacking firewood. So here's Donald Trump sending 500 more troops to Washington, D.C. after two of them died. Medicare for all arguers, it's better solution than whatever Trump's got cooking up. I don't see anyone sitting out an election now, so Trump did kind of do something good. We'll see. We'll see what voter participation looks like. By the way, I'm gonna post this story and then I'm gonna say it how I want to say it. Okay. The FBI director was giving an interview yesterday and was asked about the DC shooter and was like, "We're gonna do everything to find this guy." He was in custody and he had been shot. He was in the hospital. This is the head of the FBI. If anybody wonders why would Donald Trump want to fire Kash Patel? Because Kash Patel got in front of a camera and was like, we're gonna do whatever we have to do to find out who did this." And as he said that, the shooter was already in custody. This is the head of the FBI. This is not your local PD that can fuck that up and get away with it. That guy, the local PD fucks it up, he gets fired too. Okay? Yeah. We're gonna we're we're gonna spare no expense. Except for the two lives that were lost. That probably had like $1 million put into them. And I want to point this out. Every article I've read about this DC shooting is saying it was a targeted shooting. This means that Rahman Rallah knew the boys he was shooting. And my question is, were they racist? Had they treated Rahman Rallah horribly to the point where he would travel across the country and brain them too? You think he knew them? Like personally? Like he served with them? Huh? Angie said I'm gonna give myself a concussion with how much I'm smacking my head. Yeah, right. All right, just a few minutes left here. Hey, look, it's Thanksgiving. Enjoy your time. If you decide today that you're done, here's a little bit eat the rich. We'll look at the weather. If you decide today between 11 a.m. Eastern and 3 p.m., hopefully, that you're done paying your credit cards, but you don't want to declare bankruptcy because you can look ahead and see that, well, the economy's fucked up, and I don't want to fuck up my relationship with these credit card companies, but I also am living paycheck to paycheck. What do I do? Call me. I work for Beyond Finance. We have an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and an excellent rating on Trustpilot, and you get to work with me. Generally, what I help people do is if you have more than $10,000 in unsecured debt, is we consolidate all your credit cards and your loans into one low payment, which typically most people need to pay less than they're paying. They don't have money to spend, right? Generally, we're cutting those payments in half. You're going to stop paying them. You're going to pay a biweekly payment to us. It's going to be a lot less than you were paying. You're going to save money, and then while you're paying us and not paying your creditors, we're going to contact them. We're going to negotiate with them. We're going to lower the interest. We're going to eliminate that, and about half of what you owe in principal on each of those accounts. Sometimes I talk to people whose student loans get included. hmm So as I've said, if you need to do business today, that's what I volunteered to do for a few hours. Volunteered to get paid to do that. But yeah, if you decide that hey, today's a good day to do that. The conversation only takes about an hour. It'll save you money. You'll be out of debt in the next couple of years. It's better than just continuing to do it, right? So my direct phone number 1-877-230-7106, and my direct extension is 2729. And many of the people that watch the show are already clients. So, isn't that fun? Let's look at the weather. Get out of here. Survey says, yeah, about what we thought it was going to be. All right. From the northwest. Rain in Washington and Oregon in like the middle, and then snow in the northeast part of Washington State into Montana, and the northern part of Idaho are going to have ice, and I think that's ice and high wind. The plains, I'm pretty sure that's snow. Yeah, so that's snow and high wind up there, and it's snow pushing back from, that looks like the middle of South Dakota all the way to Illinois right now, and obviously that's going to go east. It's going to hit Minnesota, the southern half of Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, obviously Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, but yeah, the Wisconsin, Chicago, Ohio, you already got a snowstorm there. Okay, there's also a bunch of rain off the eastern seaboard, and again, I see like little spits of rain in Florida, and otherwise I'm unsure how all that rain's going to interact with the coast, but It's because I'm not a weatherman. Mostly, if you live in the northern half of the United States, you need to keep your head on a swivel. Okay? That's the way I look at it. Here's the, I'll share YAWBot. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. See you tomorrow.